Welcome to episode 81 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. Thanks so much for tuning in on this lovely Sunday. We've had 3 shows this weekend. Sally Malcolm started us off today, and then we had Sue Ann Braun. And now we're bringing in the lovely Musetta Vander from Stargate SG-1. She played Shau nac. Before we bring her in, I'd just like to let you know that we are looking for more subscribers. So if you're a Stargate fan and you like content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click the like button. It really makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get more notifications about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. If you give the bell icon a click, it will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And this is key if you plan on watching live, because these talent are working for the most part, and they're back at it. So schedules change all the time. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on the gateworld.net YouTube channel. As with most of our live shows, with this episode, we're inviting you to submit your questions for Musetta. So go to www.youtube.com/dialthegate, and our moderators are standing by to take your questions. Without further ado, the guest of the hour, Shau nac from Stargate SG-1, Musetta Vander. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, and you are very welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing? How are things going?
Very well. I mean, it's going really well. It's gorgeous weather, and
It is.
Yes. So I have been, this morning I went for a cycle early in the morning with my husband. We went to go have breakfast, and now we're back, and we'll probably head down to the beach later. So I love getting outdoors, as you can probably tell.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. I just ran to LA for work last week for a day, and I got out of the car and I was like, I can't breathe. There's so much humidity here. It's like,
Really?
It's like, yeah, you're by the ocean. So, because in Phoenix, it's just so dry. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
humidity is like 20% sometimes. So it's just crazy there. But yeah, no, I love running out to that area. It's just always so beautiful.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful places to see. It's just
Absolutely,
getting
especially in the out of doors. Right now, especially that's the time to do it, is to be outside. So
Definitely.
who's this little figure next to you here, to your right?
Oh, this is my warrior. This piece comes from somewhere. I can't remember which part of Africa. I got it quite a few years ago, and I used to collect several pieces of African art. And when I came over many years ago, this piece came with us at the time. And I remember once a feng shui master came into the house and he looked at all the masks and he goes, "Oh, you have masks." And I was like, "Is that a bad thing?" He goes, "How long have you had them?" I go, "Well, by that time, probably like 15 years. And he goes, "Oh, good, because now they follow you." I was like, really? Was I following them before? Because when they have the faces of the masks, they have certain powers and they can cause some kind of a deviation in the chi flow in a house. So he was very happy to hear that I had them for a long time, because now I was in charge and not the masks. So.
Wow. Well, I mean, I may need him to visit my place, because I also have masks from Vietnam, and I have some from South Africa, and my kitchen is full of masks, and I almost never cook, Musetta. So maybe there's something to that.
Whoa! You did it. Get them
taken over
up
the
behind you. Chop chop.
Absolutely. You are South African born.
Yes.
My second South African of the day.
Yes, we're back to back.
Absolutely. How did you get started in this industry? How young were you when you realized this is what I want to do with my life? This is something that I want to continue to explore.
Well, I was born into the entertainment business because my mother was a ballet teacher. So
Got it.
When I grew up, there was no TV, so we didn't have television programs or anything like that. But when I was about, I don't know how old, probably about 8 or 9, I had a book that I got hold of somehow, and there were careers for girls, and there were all these like secretary, whatever, housewife. And I was like, no. And then I saw a picture of an actress standing on a set. with all the lights and the microphones, and that's what I'm going to be. And it's before even TV came out. It's just in my nature, because I grew up, in the entertainment business. It was just a natural progression, but it wasn't until much later that I became an actor. I first was in the dance world for a long time.
And how did movements teach you about yourself and your world, and your physical boundaries, and how did that expression help form your identity?
I definitely think there's something to being in some kind of a physical activity from a very young age. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's dancing, martial arts, something that's very active. It's not only good for the energy flow of the body, it's very good for self-confidence. It's good for your posture. It's something, when in the case of ballet training, it's something that lasts your entire lifetime, because it's a very strict discipline. And I do believe that you need to keep the body in motion. Anything that becomes stagnant tends to slow down and become toxic. So I like to keep the body moving, even if it's gentle movement. And I definitely feel it gave me a lot more confidence and assertiveness, because it just makes you stronger, especially if you're a performer. You're on a stage, and you're used to that. So it does give you a little extra edge. I think it's definitely good.
There's something about poise. There's something about standing up straight that I think connects to us, like on a tadpole level almost, where there's a self-respect that's a part of it, and people also notice your posture as well, even if not on a conscious level, where it's like, I need to take this person a little bit more seriously.
It's very true. It's very true. Your posture is very, very important. I mean, I do Qigong now and stuff, and I've been doing that for quite a while. But there's a saying that says, this exercise that I'm very, very fond of, that I give to a lot of people to do. It's called standing like a tree. And the concept behind it is do nothing and everything is done, just like a tree that stands absolutely still. You can plant the seed and you come back 5 years later, 10 years later, this tree is growing bigger and bigger and bigger, but you never see it transforming these energies constantly between earth and heaven energies. And one day you have a giant sequoia tree. It's massive and powerful. If you drive your car into it, the tree keeps standing and the car and you are having problems. So it's that concept of keeping the body in that straight up posture, almost standing still and channeling energy, is very, very powerful. And I think posture is definitely an important part of how you feel. Mm-hmm. Also, if you sit like this, your energy is compacted, contracted. Your emotions will be affected by it, as opposed to when you open up and stand up straight.
And how your emotions are affected relates to how you communicate with other people and how they feed off of that as well.
Definitely.
There's an oxytocin thing going on. There's a dopamine thing going on. All these chemicals. And it sounds like you're someone who's really tied to vibrations. We're all feeding off of each other's ripples and sending out ripples.
Definitely, we are all energetically connected. We are not separate at all. So we do affect each other's energy, definitely. And
go ahead.
No, okay. That's what I was going to say. It's like, if you think about the power of a smile, it has such healing properties. It literally transforms the chemical processes in the body. It makes you feel better. If you turn your mouth up and you smile, and then you try to have a fight with someone, you can't, right? This is come out the same way.
There are certain things that are turned off. Yeah.
So even if you're feeling bad, if you just smile, just that changes the chemistry of the body.
Do you know who Simon Sinek is?
No.
Okay, he's an author who talks about one of my favorite books of his is Start With Why. It's to find the root of why you're doing something, your motivation for something. And one of the things that he talks about is when you do something nice for someone else, something unexpected, you get a release of oxytocin in yourself. You also release oxytocin in the other person if they also register what you've done. Someone observing, a third party, sees you do something for someone else, they get a release of oxytocin. And
so true.
It all folds back in on itself. I think that's one of the wonderful things about sci-fi and about Stargate in particular is it was, and I've my listeners are tired of me saying this. It's chicken soup. It's a show that makes you look at the best parts of humanity and the darkest parts of humanity, but generally at the end of the episode makes you feel like, you know what, I'm going to be all right. In the long run, we've got this. We're going to be okay. And I think the uplifting spirit of shows like Stargate are so important to the human spirit.
Absolutely. It's a very, very powerful medium, and I think that it's a great teacher, and it reflects so much of life and the lessons of life and what we go through. Even though it's taking place on another dimension, the emotional component to it is something everybody can relate to. It doesn't matter where you are and what language you speak or what country you live on. Everybody has the same emotions,
Mm-hmm.
So it's really I think it's really a powerful medium filmmaking in general, and Star Trek and Stargate and all these shows, even though they go straight out into far other realms of consciousness, it brings with it a hope and change and vibrant energy and good stuff. Lessons. And actually, it's not so far-fetched, in my opinion. Some of the stuff, like the portals and the Stargates, I mean,
Would we really be surprised if some of this stuff was real? No. I wouldn't be. It's like, well,
I don't think it's surprising at all. As a matter of fact, sometimes I think, yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You were talking about a lot of this being good teachers. Who were some of your good teachers? Who are the people who have shaped you into who you are?
Well, I think your first teachers are your parents, definitely. That was definitely my greatest influence growing up, was my mother. And then, and my father. But I think that from that point on, because I didn't grow up with TV, my greatest teacher was nature, really. Okay. I really think that in nature, it has such a harmonious and intelligent flow that as a child, for me, playing we had two rivers that crossed our properties, and we would go for the safaris and imaginary voyages and, rescue like the trapped princess, or, doing something really outrageous and unusual. We had tree houses, and my friend Kiki and I would just go for these adventures to go and save something that we would dream up. So it was really a lot of my own imagination that was used in nature. And I think that was a very big factor into what my interest became later in life. I'd never followed an individual. I was lucky to have some really good teachers that came my way because of my interests, especially on the more of the esoteric side of my life. But nature was my first and greatest, and still is my favorite teacher.
What brought you to the United States?
Well, at that time when I was living in South Africa, I was working on a TV show over there, like a music video show. And it was a really unusual coincidence of events that led up to my husband at that time, who saw me on that show. And I literally bumped into him the same evening. Out of all the people, he was American. Out of all the people in the entire country, I randomly bumped him at the opening of this show, this nightclub I had to go to represent the show. And he had just seen me on TV and goes, "I just saw you on TV." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, whatever." Anyway, he had, and that was it. And that's how I ended up coming to America.
Wow.
Through him, because at that point I just started my whole career in South Africa, and then I met him, and then I came this way.
What are some of the roles on stage, on screen, music video, TV, film, that pushed you in ways that you really didn't expect, or expected, but it took you to places beyond what you were expecting?
I think that the one that really was the most challenging for me to do was a play I did, which was one of the first plays I did, called Soweto's Burning, which was about an interracial relationship in South Africa during the height of apartheid.
Yeah.
And that was it was the first thing I did when I came to the US. And we did it at a theater at the Hudson Backstage. And to perform that level of emotion every night and to go through that character's experience every night, it really was exhausting, and it was really physically challenging as far as the emotional level of it, to every night perform to such an event. Because when you act, your body doesn't know the difference between if this is real emotion or if this is a created or simulated event. So your body goes through these emotions. And it was sometimes exhausting just to get up after that, and go back to do it again and again. And there was another movie I did, which had that same kind of level of emotional demand that was very challenging. It was called Johnny. And it's about a mother who loses her child, and she's responsible for it, and she can't get over it. And the guilt, she's texting, and she has a car accident, and she never forgives herself for that. And the emotional, and the director also wanted a lot of emotion. So every day on set, there was so much emotion every day that when the day off came, I was literally just had to lie horizontal just to get my body back to not getting sick, because these
can very easily, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Wow. Do exploring these characters uncover or help you uncover facets of yourself that you didn't expect to find?
That's an interesting question. I think that the characters that when you get hired for a job, they hire you because they see something in you that they think is the character that they're looking for. And I think we all have these parts within us. I think because of my training as a dancer, I think when I first got into playing these villains, I don't consider myself a villain at all, really. As a matter of fact, I don't really think I'm like any of the characters that I play, but I have them all within me. And the first character I played that was a villain was Lash. And we were in Romania. It was this out there sci-fi character. But the minute I got that costume on, and I had to, you're walking around with this whip and leather, and you're in the future, and it's cowboys and it's immediately in my imagination, I'm not on Earth anymore.
Yeah,
I am in this other reality. It's just like when I was a kid and I'm on the play and stage or in some show that I'm dancing in. I am that character, and suddenly all this stuff just comes out and goes to the next level, and you're like, whoa, okay, that went way out there, So definitely suddenly brings things out of the depths of you, which I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Tell us about auditioning and getting the role for Shau nac.
Shau nac. Well, that was very interesting. I remember auditioning, going in for the reading, and I didn't ever, I have this kind of mentality. Once I go in, I give it my all. I give it my best job, my best audition, and then I walk out and I just try to forget about it. I don't want to know, because I don't want to keep thinking about, oh, did I do it right?
Dwelling on it, yeah.
Yeah, I can't dwell on it. I walk away, and I just go well, if it's meant to be
correct.
And then I got the call, and I was like, oh, wow, this is so exciting. And at that point, traveling with, I'm such a keen person to travel, and I had seen Stargate, and I was a huge fan of it.
All right.
I mean, to me, sci-fi is not unrealistic. Okay, I know people are like, oh no, it's nah. Stargate's very possible. A lot of things very, very possible, and sometimes I think these shows imitate life. And you start digging, you find out a lot of information. You go, okay, maybe that's where this idea is coming from. So to me, it's not far-fetched. And yeah, so when I got the call and I flew to Vancouver, it was super exciting for me to be there. It was just, to suddenly step into the show, and also that show had been going for quite a while at that point.
Yeah.
That's always the most nerve-wracking, if you step into a show that's already has a rhythm, so you come in as like a one guest star episode, to get into the flow of it right away. And it was really funny because my first episode, Peter DeLuise directed, and he's such a prankster. It was hilarious.
He's a great guy.
So funny.
But he's crazy.
But it made it so much fun, and all the cast and the crew, they were so nice and so welcoming, and so I really had a great time on that show.
Did Chris help you understand who the Jaffa were as a people? Did you infer that through the script? Who did you go to figure out what kind of a creature this person was?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. It's going back so far. I believe Chris helped me and explained to me who the Jaffa were, and exactly what the symbiote was and how it all works, and because if you're not following the show every day, it's like it's a whole world you have to step into and recreate. See, how do I fit in? How does this work? Yeah, so I definitely did a bunch of research, watched some episodes, try to figure out how I would fit into this, and and they're also very good with guiding you, and telling you like the names, you have unusual spellings.
Right, exactly. It's the little things that make a big difference.
Yeah.
Like who the Tok'ra were as a race, and why the mythology of the Goa'uld, dated, it was reverse engineered from the feature film. But I mean, we had up until Crossroads never had any idea that you could that the Jaffa could talk to their symbiotes, or at least commune with them and hear what they were saying. And that was really, really kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's true. I think that in a way for me, it was very interesting because it's like that same basic idea of a human being able to get into the silence of the mind and hearing the intuitive voice of the heart, of the spirit. So not that I'm not talking about the Jaffa being that, but you know what I'm saying. And right. So I kind of used it in that sense, for the character. For me, that was the parallel.
Were you surprised at the twists at the end? Were you aware of the twist before you got to it, reading the script all the way through? Or were you not expecting it to go the way it did, where Tanith was faking all along?
Well,
as it were.
Well, when you come in on a guest star on one episode, pretty much you're going to get killed. Because
not necessarily.
Yeah, it's usually sometimes it's not, and then it's like a couple, unless you're becoming a regular on the show. But usually, when you're the guest star and they're hiring you for one episode, you're either gonna die or you're gonna go away somewhere. And chances are, because I usually play villains, I'm always thinking, well, this character's probably gonna die. And sure enough, she did. And but it makes for the drama. Makes for the twists and the turns. So it feeds the show. And I think I would have loved to stay on.
This is true. Well, and we'll talk about your second appearance, an unexpected one at that in just a moment. I have had the privilege of knowing Christopher, really, really getting to know him and spend time with him, just discovering his humanity. And if you want to talk about someone who's just pure light and energy, it is that man. I could not imagine trying to get through scenes with him.
He was very funny, and he was a big prankster. Between him and Peter, it was just constant. I think I've told the story many, many times, and I think my first scene, I don't remember if it was the one where I stepped through the portal through Stargate, or if it was when I was dead. It was one of those two.
Oh, geez.
But I remember stand corrected on all of this because we're going back a long time now. I stepped through and I got the things and, we rehearsed it. And then Peter DeLuise goes, and now with fire in your loins, you look over and you see Teal'c. It was so funny. With a fire in my loins, I've been directed in many ways. No one has ever told me to look at somebody with fire in my loins. And I was like, well, yeah, okay.
That sounds about right. Jeez, man.
Yeah, or when I'm dead, Christopher Judge, I'm lying like this, I'm all dead, and he's got the feather. He's got around my nose.
I wanted to see how that is. I want to jump to one of the fan questions earlier. Raj wants to know, what were the differences between the sets of SG-1 and Voyager? Because I've heard some stories that like the Voyager sets were like very like they were very aware of the internal mythology going back decades and seasons of multiple shows, and like a level of intensity that I can't imagine was on the Stargate sets. Or was it very similar?
Wow. Well, firstly, that's a really specific question. When you come in like as an actor on a show and you only coming in for one episode,
right?
You're so concerned with doing everything that they want to make it work. I wasn't really focusing so much on whether it was, following some kind of a history with the show or the sets. I know they were beautiful and I know they were all very well done. And I remember when I worked on another show on Star Trek, a friend of mine came over to visit, and they wanted to go into the main room, and sit in the chair.
Oh, the bridge, yeah.
Yes, and sit in the bridge, and up to that point, I hadn't even thought of taking a photo and sitting in the bridge, But it was his dream to stand where the Borg regenerates. And so,
yeah. The Borg sets were standing there too, yeah.
Yeah, so, I got a picture on the bridge because of him. But when you're in that mode of working, it's like you're not paying attention to those details.
You're doing your job.
You're doing your job.
Yeah.
They do their job amazingly well.
Right.
All I have to focus on is, am I doing my job well? Am I making this character believable?
That makes a lot of sense. No, I mean, that's a fair point. If you're thinking about the legacy that you're impacting, I suppose not only are you not doing your job, but you run the risk of altering the work in a way that makes you distracted. So who knows what could happen. So. Yeah,
I that's like something didn't research really at all. More important to me is the emotional life of the character, the history of the character, where she comes from, what is the purpose of her going here, through this Stargate, what does she want to achieve, what's the objective? And I know the sets are fantastic. Now looking back, I can actually, when I saw this episode, you just sent it to me, it was really wild to sit back and like 20 years later, look at that with like a complete clean slate and see everything on there and look at all the intricacies of the set and the gate and all these things that wasn't in my frame of thinking at the time when I was shooting it.
It is a show that continues to withstand the test of time, largely, the story and the characters, A, but B, the production values are high as well, and they really have withstood these changing eras since, it's been like 20, how many years since that first episode that you did.
Crazy.
Crazy.
What crazy.
And then, so you die. But then Christopher comes along, and he had a story by credit in season 5, but his first written by is in season 6, The Changeling. And I'm assuming you got a call.
Yes.
I'm teeing it up for you there. So get
got a call, and I was so excited to go back. It was like I had been waiting to go back on the show, and I was wondering how I would ever go back now that I'm dead in the show. But I know you can get resurrected in numerous ways. I thought there'd be some interesting way that could bring me back. So wonderful when I got the call to go to work with Chris again, and a completely different version of Shau nac, or which I liked. And I love that I like that episode a lot because of the complete dualism of the character that he has, that he can't just figure out if he's in a dream or is in the past and the future and the back and forth, So I like that very much. I like that show very much. I like both of them very much.
Well, it's an interesting episode because as the fans, we're not entirely sure what's going on. As Shau nac, the emotional essence of her is intact, in terms of her love for that man, that Jaffa. But she's not a Jaffa anymore. She's human. So that must have been an interesting approach. It's just like, what the script says is what I'll say. I imagine you approached it from a very similar emotional space, but just not from with that back of your mind that, okay, I'm also unearthly. That I imagine that was just disconnected.
Yeah, for that character, you play just who you are as a human being,
right?
And the relationship, because you're not now part of some Jaffa or anything like that. You're a human in a normal circumstance, a normal life event. So it's all driven by the emotional component between the characters. And Martin was very, very specific on how he wanted the character to be. So he was very different from Peter. They were both specific, but Martin's very, very particular on exactly how he wants every moment played. And I liked it because it was a change from the Shau nac character, who is the priestess.
Right.
And a very real concerned wife for her husband going through something that's, is he losing his mind? I mean, concern. I was like, what's going on? How do we fix this?
Right. And thinking of the possibility, he may be thinking that I'm just an absolute hallucination. By the way, I am. But I mean, how does a person kind of approach that? And those are like the scarier aspects that any of us have to go through in dealing with a person who is unwinding. I mean, we have. All of us have almost all of us have dealt with family or with someone in our lives who have had Alzheimer's or dementia or some kind of, at the darkest point, schizophrenia or things like that. And for me, there's nothing scarier than losing your mind, because it's like losing your soul. It's like losing your identity. Yeah. And on the top of that, in this particular episode, he's about to go through a major surgery to save his adopted father. And those are big life issues that people deal with.
Yes, that's really, I mean, there were a lot of things in that episode. I mean, it was the ultimate sacrifice of selflessness, of giving a kidney for another. I mean, if somebody goes to you and says, I need your kidney, I mean, what will you do? So that's very, very deep. And I'm sure that would naturally cause a lot of anxiety in your own person, even though you want to do the right thing. That how would your body manage that?
Right.
So there's a lot of that, and that plays obviously beautifully. Chris plays that beautifully, and it comes and that mixes in with when he flashes back to the other side and back and forth. That anxiety carries through the whole episode, back and forth. So I mean, I think when the mind is just kind of void and we don't know where we are, what we have, we lose direction. We like a ship bobbing on the ocean. You don't know where you're going to end up.
Exactly. Absolutely. It was such a pleasure to have you back. And it was just one of those expected things where it's like, you know what, sci-fi, you can do anything, you can pull anything off. And I have some fans who have submitted some questions as well. Raj wanted to know, so Brad Wright has been developing a fourth Stargate series with MGM for a while now. I've been calling it SG-4 just for short. And he and I are certainly interested to know, would you be opposed to appearing in that series?
No, of course not.
All right.
I don't think anybody would be, I would love to. I mean, any actor would want to. It's such a wonderful show, and it's so great to be part of such a legendary franchise. Yes, and yes. Anytime, sign me up. Where do we start?
Would you step through a real Stargate, Teresa asked, and if so, where would you like it to take you?
a good question. I would definitely step through a real Stargate twice. And I'm kind of like, I would just let it take me wherever. I would first, I think if you're at that point where you can step through Stargates, you can probably tune into the right direction for your being. And when you step through that portal or that Stargate, it will put you where you are meant to be to learn your next lesson.
That's
or
interesting.
Your next experience.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that would be an intelligent, live portal, right? With intelligence and vibratory qualities that you can say, you know who I am. If you feel me coming through there, take me to whatever you decide would be the right place for me to land. That would be of benefit to me, or the next thing I need to learn or work on or whatever.
Sounds a little like Fantasy Island.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about something, people learning a lesson.
Yeah, I think that all the lessons, it's like in life is a big learning lesson. So maybe I'll touch the Stargate and I'll say, take me somewhere fabulous. I can just live in bliss.
That at least has oxygen.
Yeah, and it's all the things I like. It's just peace and happiness and joy and love. That's where I go.
There you go.
I don't want war and fighting. Just somewhere
No, we
nice
got enough of that here. Jeez.
Yeah, no, take me to somewhere beautiful.
Eva Lipinska, tell us about a little bit about your experience on Hawaii 5-0. It was so great to see you there.
Oh, thank you, Eva. In Hawaii 5-0, first of all, when I got Hawaii 5-0, I was like, yeah. First of all, I was like, Hawaii! And interestingly enough, one of the first movies I ever did with my ex-husband, we did a movie called Under the Hula Moon, and we had the music from Hawaii 5-0 was part of that movie. So I was familiar with Hawaii 5-0 before it ever came back. So when I got to go to do Hawaii 5-0, it was a dream come true. First of all, I liked the fact that I played a different character from what I normally play, to play a sheriff, to go to the islands to work. I mean, these are the perks of the job, and to work with the cast over there, which was very nice, and it's such a high-end production that everything is just top notch. Every detail is thought of. The level of the quality of everything is super big budget for TV, and it was a wonderful experience to go and do that. I always get taken away and killed. Come on, man! Can I not be like a good cop?
Better to have loved and lost. That's how I always look at it. It's like, when I was lucky enough to stay, my dad's ex-military. And he's retired, and lucky enough to stay on Ford Island, where just across from Pearl, where the attack took place. And it was just like, these are experiences that no one can take from you. They're just so awe-inspiring to be there for that history. And Hawaii is just beautiful.
I love Hawaii. I mean, honestly, I just absolutely love Hawaii, and so when I think back to stepping through that portal, I think I would definitely go somewhere where I just
tropical
live on, and I keep going on.
Absolutely.
I've learned enough lessons here on every episode I've done and in my life. I'm going somewhere like eternal.
Kyle, the first role I ever saw you in was my favorite, so he says, Sindel in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Have you kept up with the franchise since, or know what has happened to the character? The new movie has just come out.
I know. Thank you, Kyle. I have, all the actors who were on that, we've all kind of kept in touch, so we're still friends.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually I spoke to Sandra, the Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat Annihilation 2 weeks ago, and I said, we have to go see the new version of the movie, the new Sonya Blade, it's like 20 years later. And I'm sure it's going to be stellar, because of just the improvements technologically and special effects and all those things. It looks amazing when you look at it. Have we been following the franchise? Yes and no, because I see things coming in, and I see because I get alerts when something goes on with any of the shows, and I know that I look at the new character, the animated character that they've drawn, and I go, that kind of looks a lot like me. But nobody came to me and asked me.
Should I contact my lawyer?
I think that looks a lot like me. Yeah. So I do keep up in that sense. I don't follow it religiously.
Okay.
It's quite a violent.
It is indeed.
Movie.
Yeah. Not everyone's cup of tea.
Kombat.
I honestly, I can't remember the last. I was a big fan of the Sega game, so I must say.
The which one?
The Sega Genesis game, going way back.
Yeah. You see, I wasn't like, I didn't ever like play the video games until I got the movie.
Got it.
I thought, I better go find out who the Sindel is.
For sure.
Know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's a whole story. The mythology for Mortal Kombat is it's like anything else. It's miles deep if you know where to look.
Yeah, very, very much, right? It's always it's like a Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely.
In our daily lives.
Exactly. Carlos Takeshi. Was there any special prep involved for playing Praying Mantis in Buffy?
No, there wasn't any special prep. I think for that show, it was one of the first seasons of Buffy. And all the technology was just starting, with the head rotation, all of that stuff. I didn't do any special prep. I think I drew on my dance background for that character to give it that like praying mantis feel, when she talked, or just the movements that she had, that kind of, just give it a little bit of that. So that's probably the most preparation I did, because I tried to give it a little bit of that influence, of that insect-like feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's
so
kind of creepy.
That's one of those things too. Is once you get on the set and you're around the characters, and it's just organic. It just comes out of you. I believe very much in the power of words. It's not like I need to go and think of how I'm going to live that word. I feel it. I can feel a word, and I can give it. It just has its own vibratory energy and emotional life to it. So if I'm programming a praying mantis and I've been looking at how to move, it's automatic for me when I, play a character.
It's amazing how makeup and environment can influence a performance. Like you intuit that certain things feel a certain way, and certain things are like, no, this I had this idea. This doesn't work once you add this ingredient.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Like, and that was for me very, wasn't any movie you really do, but like in Sindel's case, I remember when I got the audition and I went in to do the audition, how it was like out there, and it was all, they wanted large, they wanted big, but until you go, when I finally got to London and then they brought me the wig and the costumes all made. I mean, if I look at it today, the costumes that we had at that stage, which mine was just a lycra leotard, right? It wasn't like any, like I look at that costume there behind you and I go, perfect.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
yeah, but you know what I mean? It's not like hard armor. It's just like a little leotard.
Right.
When you climb into it, then you are Sindel, so... yeah, that definitely. And then of course, when you're in an environment like Petra Jordan and you ancient things. I mean, I think I've told the story many times, but in case some of your viewers haven't heard it, it's when I was on that horseback, and we ride in on that horseback with Brian Thompson, and they asked me to do that scream, and that's a moment where things come out that you didn't know you had. For me, I was just going to do a scream. But when I leant over like that and I screamed across that valley, suddenly it was like this energy surged through me, and I yelled so strongly across it that I had like goose flesh after it. It was just like tingling because it reverberated through that canyon, and it was eerie. I mean, I get goose flesh.
You had an experience. Yeah. It transcended your
like,
humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled it in from like wherever, and I was that, and I mean, the power of sound, can shatter things as it is, and I was like,
there's also something very, sorry, there's something very cosmic about Petra too. That's just absolutely
magnificent place,
mind-boggling,
mind-boggling place,
yeah,
and it's so incredible, such an incredible experience to have been there.
Meep 189. What was it like working with Garrett on Voyager?
Garrett was a doll. He's super sweet. He was super kind, and it was super fun. Our first scene we shot together was when I end up in the shuttlecraft.
Oh, okay.
That was my first scene with Garrett. Yeah, when they beam me into the shuttlecraft and the two of us are going to go on a little trip, and so all those moments you see between us is like organic. We didn't rehearse it or plan it. Also on those shows, it moves like this, right?
Very fast.
And then you're moving and you got all this dialogue, and I think that giggle and laughter was both like, oh my gosh, this is nerve-wracking, but isn't it great? And it kind of worked for the character, but I love Garrett, super nice guy. I bump into him often when we go to these events and conventions, and a really wonderful person.
He's doing a podcast with Robert Duncan McNeil right now called the Delta Flyers, and they're going through episode by episode doing commentaries. So
are they really?
I think that they're on season 3 right now. So season 5 is just around the corner. He may be hitting you up. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm gonna check in and see what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. What a great episode that was. I love that show as a whole, as much as I love the franchise, if you can tell. But that was a great show because Harry was so by the book, and then you came in like a rock to his head, and with this what was ultimately some kind of virus in his body that forced him to behave differently, but also it made him grow up more. That character, was forced to be in a situation where he was like, you know what, I'm not who I was when I got on this ship 4 years ago. And that was a really solid episode, on a number of levels. Yeah,
I think that was a wonderful arc for his character, from being like this good guy, and breaking free and breaking rules. And I love that character because I don't like having rules. I'm very independent, and I would, if I was on a Starfleet, I would probably be like, I want to go that way, and I'm taking my own ship.
Yeah, let's take our chunk of ship and head toward that nebula.
Let's go that
way. Exactly right.
So it's like the subliminal casting. I don't know what it is when I get it. It's like they've gone, she's the rebel, get her.
Absolutely, And it was an interesting episode also about the perspective of the individual versus the collective.
Yeah.
At what point does do the interests of the collective hinder to a breaking point the interests of the individual? And that episode addresses that.
That is exactly right. And I think the independent growth and spirit of whatever character you are, whatever human being you are, you have to have that freedom to grow and not be pushed into a collective to think like the mass. That's in my opinion against my nature and against what I would want to do if I was part of a collective group. I would definitely be like,
absolutely. No, that's the thing that I love about sci-fi is that you can you can ask those questions and let the audience infer what they are going to infer.
Yeah, you gotta grow. You have so much potential in your body and in your spirit and in your soul that you need to awaken. And I think if you stuck to the collective, you might not get to be your full potential.
Exactly. Vanessa, can you share with us any anecdotes from when you were in New Zealand working as, is it Ilainus? Pronouncing that right?
Yes.
And Xena. Greetings from Peru.
Whoa, hello there. Wow, Peru.
I know.
On my bucket list, man. I need to go up there. I want to go right up to Machu Picchu.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, from Xena, that was, I've told the story many times, but if you haven't heard it, I'll tell you the story. When I got the episode of Xena, it was right there when everybody thought the world was going to come to an end. It was 1999 going into the year 2000, and I don't know, everybody's like going to die. And so I flew to New Zealand. I got there, and we had to do our preparation for the fight scenes. And so Lucy Lawless is a doll. And so we rehearsed our fights and it was over on Lucy, and this big roundhouse kick, because I wanted to be really good, because, I was a dancer, so I wanted to have that roundhouse go like, so, and in the process, I tore my hamstring.
Oh.
So yeah. On the first shot, I tore the hamstring.
No.
So, yeah. So now I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't even shot the turnaround on my side. How am I? Do I tell them? Do I not tell them?
You got to tell them.
So I was like, I just kept going, and so.
You
but
did.
Actually, yeah, I had to, but the roundhouse kick became like a bent leg roundhouse kick. It was like that. If you actually look at the roundhouse, you'll see my foot is like flexed, and I'm kicking with a bent leg, not nearly as high. But the funny anecdote from there is, like, I get into these characters, just like when I gave that shriek across Petra Jordan in that thing. I became Ilainus in that moment. You gave me a sword, and hamstring torn or not, I'm going to go in for taking out Xena. That is it. Xena is my target. And at one point at the end, the choreography is I have her down over the barrel, and I have the sword like this over her neck. She looks up at me and she goes, "I'm not really Xena." And that moment I will never forget. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Because my imagination, you're in this outfit and I have these swords, and I'm like, I don't care if my leg is blown off. I am going into Texas. Right.
There is a certain point when you get so into it. Christopher Judge told this story too. There was a later episode called Talion near the end of the series, and there was a guest star who was kicking the crap out of him, like almost at full energy. And I mean, he was like, this guy is tearing me up. And he had little choice but to respond in kind. There was only, he was asking, and it just wasn't happening. So you have to defend yourself.
Yeah. It's like at that moment, it's just an innate thing that happens when you have words that you don't normally say. It's like in that moment you become, I mean, it was all within reason still.
Yes. Yeah. But still another part of your personality is taking over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all have multiple different layers of the personality, so. For sure. Yeah, and this goes and combines and recombines in the subatomic levels of the mind. So you pull that out and you can play anything, Some characters I don't want to go near because I don't want to have that experience or that memory, I don't want to go through that.
At least, not again. So there are certain aspects. I think that's the thing as a performer. It's like you go into certain places to explore the truth of a scene, and some of the things that you uncover, it's like, okay, that's a part of me, but that can go back in the drawer now.
Yeah. Well, you got to transform it, right? Once I pull that out, you transform that, because you don't want that to stay in the body. Right. Like if you were to play like a serial killer or something, and every day you have to create that reality, or I mean, you definitely want to clear that out of your cellular level when you're done.
Yeah. From a holistic perspective, it's like, okay, this was necessary for this part, and now it's, that's a challenge enough. I mean, not to say that, I'm going to go and kill someone, but even thinking those things, even dwelling on those things, to a degree is, there's a certain amount of healthiness in, being aware of the darker aspects of your nature, but you can get sucked in. You can dwell.
And this is not just about acting, right? This is in life too. You sit and you dwell on some event in your life that made you upset.
Correct.
You hold on to that, and you hold on to that, and you hold on, and you keep building on it, and eventually suddenly you like have some emotional.
Correct. It's something will give.
Yeah, and it affects your health of your body. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of having known about the energy stuff I do and the healing stuff I do, because I can let go of that. I can let go of that and not have that carry forward in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John 42, did you get bullwhip training for the Oblivion movies?
I did. I had the same
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I had the same trainer Michelle had for Catwoman. So that was pretty amazing. When I got that movie and they came with the bullwhip, we would go train in a park close to my house here. And it was really funny because we would have the whip, I'm standing there and traffic's going by and there's this girl in the middle of a park, whipping a bullwhip, cracking a bullwhip, and everybody's driving by going, what is that?
Just rehearsing, move along.
Just, so in the beginning when you learn about how to use a bullwhip, you get some nice lashes. You're like, I'm a little more careful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, absolutely. Lorraine, I first saw you in Highlander. So would you rather be an immortal or or a warrior woman Jaffa in a future role?
I want to be an immortal. Yeah, I've died enough. I want to be an immortal.
Jeez. Yeah, they've put the white powder on my face plenty of times. I got it. That's one of the things in Crossroads. You look dead.
Right.
They did a good job.
Yeah. I love the makeup and the hair. It was just amazing. I loved all of that. But they with the big hair.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it.
Do you Oh, I already asked that. Okay, those are the fan questions that I had submitted. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted those. And
Thanks,
Musetta, this was fantastic to have you on. I have really looked forward to meeting you for a very long time. And one of the great things about this show for me is to not only connect with the people that I knew when the show was in production, but to connect with people like you who I didn't have the chance to sit down with when it was first on. And so it means a lot to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so fun to be here. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. And I wish everybody a beautiful week ahead, whatever you're going to be doing.
We are going to be moving into a new phase with Dial the Gate in the future where I want to start doing episode commentaries. And I would love to have you back on for potentially commentary for Crossroads and or the Changeling. So
love to
go those episodes, take a look at them in depth.
Yeah,
so
love to.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I'll send you an email in a little bit, but you can go ahead and disconnect, and I'm going to wrap up the show on this side.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you, Musetta. Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Musetta Vander, Shau nac from Stargate SG-1. Thanks so much for tuning in to Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. We did 3 shows today, and I really appreciate you sticking around. We are giving away an item for the month of April. Dial the Gate has partnered with Big J Customs to give you a chance to get your very own pop figure. To enter to win these items, you're going to need to use a desktop or laptop computer and visit dialthegate.com. Scroll down to submit trivia questions. Your trivia may be used in a future episode of Dial the Gate, either for our monthly trivia night or for a special guest to ask me in a round of trivia. There's 3 slots, 1 easy, 1 medium, 1 hard. You only need to fill 1 in, but you're more than welcome to submit all up to 3. Please note the submission form does not currently work for mobile devices, and your trivia must be received before May the 1st. If you're the lucky winner, I'll be notifying you via your email to get your address. Be sure to check out our partner's website for more Stargate-related merchandise at bigjcustomsart.com. And this show is brought to you every week for free, and we do appreciate you watching. But if you want to support us further, buy yourself a t-shirt. We're now offering themed swag, t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies for all ages and a variety of sizes and colors at Redbubble. Checkout is fast and easy, and you can even use your Amazon or PayPal account. Just visit dialthegate.redbubble.com. And thanks for your support. That's all the news that's fit to print. Questions for David and the show. Eva, any special plans for the 100th episode? Boy, we are approaching that fast, aren't we? So that's going to be around, at this velocity, what, July? Somewhere around there. How much did I say? I don't know if it would be 100. But there's a certain convention that's coming up digitally this July. That's usually in July. But there was a digital one last year, and there's going to be a digital one this year. And I'm hoping to get a place in that convention lineup and hoping to do our first cast roundtable of a certain series that we cover. I have made some inquiries with certain cast members, and they have said yes, they're down to do it. So we will have to wait and see. The convention would get the digital exclusive first, and then Dial the Gate would air the extended, unedited version for our show a little bit after that. So maybe that will line up with the 100th, if that happens at all. So we'll see. There are plans within plans at work. And that's all that we've got. I think that's everything that I've meant to hit. Tracy, you've done a great job the past few weeks. Summer has been recovering. All love to Summer. Keith, Jeremy, Reese, Anthony, you guys are making the show happen. I can't do all of this by myself, and you guys definitely pull it off. Gate Gabber, Linda Fury, same. Jennifer Kirby, samesies. Absolutely. We've got next weekend, we've got 2 interviews heading your way. We usually do like 1 4 interviewer weekend, and that was this weekend. Next weekend, prosthetics makeup artist and founder of Masters Effects, Todd Masters. He's going to be joining us at 2 p.m. Pacific time on May the 2nd. 2 hours before him, I went in reverse. 2 hours before him at 12 p.m. Pacific time, May the 2nd, Stargate film composer, legendary composer in my opinion, David Arnold, who's going to be joining us from the UK to primarily discuss his Stargate feature film score. I have loved this score since I saw the movie in the late 90s, and I think, Joel did some amazing stuff with it in the show. I don't think anyone but Joel Goldsmith could have done the series. So much of what Joel used as a springboard for the show, certainly the theme itself, the core theme, was the Stargate feature film theme. And so we're going to have David on to discuss that. Very excited about that interview. Hope you can join us for both David Arnold and Todd Masters. Hoping to get Robert C. Cooper rescheduled in the next couple of weeks here for a deeper dive into the production of Stargate Atlantis, particularly the pilot episode. That's everything that we have. I really appreciate you tuning in and helping make the show possible. 81 episodes. Let's proceed on to that previously mentioned 100. Just a little bit of more, a little bit of time and we'll be there. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the other side.